microphone, please.
We will, 7 p.m., we will bring the meeting of the Cecil Township Zoning Hearing Board on August 25th, 2025 to order. This is not our regular monthly meeting, but scheduled because of time that we went over last week with our scheduled items. So we're not going to do the typical approval of minutes, old business, and we'll go straight to the new business, which is application 2025-0004, Helios Power LLC. First, before we get started, anybody who would like to testify in these proceedings by providing information on the application or asking questions, please rise and be sworn in by our stenographer, Kathy Landock. Yes, I do. Okay, and as a matter of introduction, I am Kara Sheridan. I'm the chairman of the board. To the right, we have Alan Barney, vice chairperson, and Joe. Oh, you're secretary technically, because Troy's not here. So Alan Barney is the secretary, and Joe Flaherty is one of our alternates. So the first thing I'll ask is if we can appoint Joe Flaherty as a normal sitting board member for today's proceedings.
I'll make a motion to appoint Joe.
I second that motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes 2-0. Joe's on the board. Okay, so application 2025-004, Helios Power LLC, location 2080 980 Road, McDonald, PA. This is a variance to permitted use of accessory structures for installation of ground-mounted solar panels. So if you'd like to step up and tell us a little bit about the application, just in general, provide us with the overview. We received the packet, but just for a matter of the record and the recording, so everyone knows what it is that you're trying to do, and then we'll open it up to questions.
You need my name?
Yeah, your name and address, please.
Frank Catropa, 109 Gatehouse. Catropa, C-A-T-R-O-P-P-A. I am one of the owners at Helios Solar or Helios Power LLC. So this project is we're requesting a special variance due to the property itself. So based on the circumstances of the orientation of the lot, it's more advantageous to use a solar ground mount array than a traditional rooftop. If you're looking at the engineered design, the house itself has a lot of obstructions on it, which you can't build a full array on the home. And the bigger portion you see is a barn-style garage. The south-facing portion is covered in shade. That would be a great use, but it's buried in shade, so it's not able to have solar on it. And the best way for the customer to obtain solar and get the full value would be to put a ground mount on their property. That's all I have.
Okay, and can you just make a statement as to what the purpose of the solar is? It simply for the homeowner's use, or what is the intent for that?
It's simply for the homeowner's use, to give them a full offset of their electricity bill so that they could take advantage of full savings by going solar.
Okay. And I think, can you just talk a little bit about the size of the panels? I think it was in the application, but for purposes of the recording, can you talk to that?
Yes, it's a 25 kilowatt system, which would offset the customer's bill at 100%. Instead of a partial offset, so that they could take full financial value on the solar system where we laid out the array on the property. house does use a substantial amount of power. I believe it is full, the whole home is all electric, so it does use quite a bit of electricity, slightly more than the average home.
Will there be excess electric that's going to be sold back to the power company?
No, there will, depending if the customer downgrades their electricity usage, then they would receive additional credits on their electricity bill. But this system is solely built to offset the customer's annual usage. So to answer the question, it would be no.
And I think what we have here is that there would be 60 solar panels. They're each 21.02 square feet, and that would mean the total area of the panels would be 1,261.2 square feet. Does that sound right to you?
That is correct.
Okay. Other questions?
Not at this time.
Oh, yeah, do you know the size of the variance that you need for this application?
That I am not sure of.
Okay. So it looks like, based on, so I can just make a general. Yeah, so it looks like based on what we currently have in the ordinance, we do not explicitly allow for ground-mounted solar panels. So the only ordinance that we have to refer to is the ordinance for accessory uses to primary property. So in this case, with a lot size of 3 acres, the maximum amount of accessory use is typically not to exceed 100% of the size of the primary structure or a maximum of 2,000 square feet. In this case, the primary structure is 1,534 square feet, but there's already an accessory structure, that barn garage that we're talking about, which is, well, actually, I think there's more than one accessory structure. There's a barn structure. The barn structure is 60 by 60, if I understand correctly, at about 3,600 square feet. And there may be another accessory structure on the property. I thought it was like a pavilion or something like that, if I recall correctly. So therefore, based on what we're asking for, and I don't know if the barn/garage was built before or after the ordinances were on the books, so we kind of just have to assume that it was grandfathered in at this point. I don't have any information to the contrary that tells me that it wasn't. So technically, because they're already out of compliance with the way that it is right now with that 60 by 60 garage, you would need to be asking for a 3,327.2 foot variance, which is a really large variance. The other comment I want to make is that this is not totally unlike what we saw the other night with no clear direction or information being placed in being available in the ordinance that tells us what we want to do about this. And especially in the topic of solar panels, I don't expect this to be the last time that someone's going to come to us with a request like this. So what I'm going to recommend, and I obviously want to hear input from the other board members here, is that we ask for input from the Board of Supervisors on what they want to do regarding ground-mounted solar panels, because I believe we already have roof-mounted solar panels in the township, correct? Do we? Liz?
So we do not have any reference to solar panel regulations in the ordinance. Yes, there are already homes with roof-mounted solar panels in Cecil Township.
Yeah.
Yes, but
But
they
ground-mounted, I think, is a little bit different in that it can be considered an accessory use because it's not on the primary structure. I guess what my point is I'm trying to get to is that I'd like to ask the Board of Supervisors to give input on what they want to do with this issue and look at incorporating more specific guidance on what to do about solar panels. This is my personal opinion, obviously, when I look at the other two, rather than approving such a large variation to an existing ordinance. Like, most of the time here, we're talking about 5-foot or 10-foot or 20-foot or 50-foot variances, but being a 3,327-foot dimensional variance is going to set a poor precedent. So that's my 2 cents on it. I'd like to hear if the other supervisors have input or comment on it, but that's my opinion.
Can I mention something?
Sure.
So if you look at the property itself, so it's a very secluded property, and to the left, right, front, and rear, it's all covered in woods, so there's no visible streets or neighbors. Specifically just talking about this property that would be an eyesore to either somebody on the roadway or a neighbor itself.
That's true, 'cause you can't see that property at all, and it's difficult even to see it in the winter with the leaves off the trees.
Right.
I can appreciate that. I guess the problem that I foresee with that is if we allowed for a 3,327-foot variance and another property owner came up and asked for a similar sized variance, we would have precedents that was like working directly against us. And their property might be more of an eyesore, more of an issue. If we get it written into the ordinance in a way that protects us from and thinks about the specific considerations with ground-mounted solar panels, they might be able to take things like that into consideration, or look at other kind of, instead of us just looking at it like any other accessory structure, I guess is what I'm getting at. So I can appreciate that, and I think that's great that it's not going to be, this particular one wouldn't be as impactful. My concern is with the precedents, so.
Yeah, and I only bring that up because in other townships, ordinances specifically look at surrounding neighbors and streets, so that's the only reason why I mentioned that.
That's great.
What kind of a timetable are you on?
We are a few months into the process. We have all the approvals that we need from financing and from the utility itself. So only thing that I believe we originally did get a permit from you guys. We do have that, but we're just waiting from the final blessing from the board here to either move forward or cut the project.
Okay, you list 2 properties here within the 300-foot notification. Lori Turney and the Fuchs, and I don't see anyone here against the program.
Okay. Against it?
Who is the applicant on the
Annie Marigo
okay.
is the property owner.
Because I was confused because I think that it listed Marigo and Tornay as owners, and if she owns the adjacent property too, they're like.
Yeah, that's mother and daughter, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, no one, unless, do you intend to speak on anything on this? Would you like to offer any public comment? Okay, nobody in the audience wants to offer any public comment at this time.
I have one question. Could you speak to the permanent nature of these structures? Like, how easily would they be removed?
I think we see full engineer design here. So if you take a look at the arrays here, we trench the electrical under the ground through these lines here. And these are the arrays itself. Full engineer design is not submitted here, but what we use is screw poles that screw directly directly into the ground, and then we attach to those anchors and build an array. And the system can be removed fairly easy by just taking the panels off, removing the electric, and then unscrew the panels. So it's not, it's not concreted in or anything like that. Obviously, it meets all of code, but it's a fairly simple system. It's not a really complex construction job with concrete and stuck there forever.
Can the panels be disposed of in like normal landfill, or do they need to have special disposal?
Yeah, there's special
And that's
disposal.
not included in like any contract you have with them or anything?
No, it's a 25-year contract with them. So what it is, it's a PPA. It's a power purchase agreement. So they're not actually buying the solar system. They're getting they're leasing the power from a company called LightReach. So they upfront all the money, the equipment, the installation, the engineering, the permitting for the customer, so that they're simply just, instead of buying their electricity from the utility, they're getting it through the finance company at a 30-40% discount than what they would normally get from the utility. So there's a pretty good savings for the customer to go solar with no upfront money.
Now, with the current layout and everything, with the 60 panels and everything like that, it's a lot of square footage for the ground mounted, which we've discussed. We don't really have anything on the ordinance to kind of set that up. But has there anything been explored at all for like a mix, if you use partial on the ground or partial on some of the areas of the roof structures that you can mount the panels to?
Yeah, so if you take a look at the layout here, so this bottom area is perfectly south facing, where that's what you need to collect the most sun hours. And only thing that would work would be this side of the barn garage. But the way that it is there's garage and then there's a hillside, right?
Okay.
And then there's trees, so it's covered in shade. That roof itself, we would be able to get 100% offset for the customer, but due to the nature of the property and the hillside creating the shade from the trees, it just wouldn't work. And then if you look at the house, they have so many obstructions on there, and it's both east and west facing, not south facing.
Okay.
Otherwise, we would. It's just
And I'm assuming the slope of the barn garage structure on the other side, where not closest to the tree. I guess the angle of that would be
yeah. So
not
that's
facing
why
the
we
south.
had to push the array back so that it's away from the trees from the hillside of the property.
Which is another reason that it'll be so hidden from view.
Yeah.
You say it's a 25-year lease?
Yes.
Okay, if they sell or something happens to that property, what happens with the equipment in the lease?
So it transfers over to the next homeowner just like any other utility would.
Okay.
And after 25 years, they would own it, so they would own their own power. It gives people a great opportunity to go solar and actually get savings from day one without trying to fork out, $30, $40, $50, $80, $100,000. That's probably why you see so many people doing it.
Questions? More questions?
All right. Questions now?
Liz, are you providing testimony tonight? I saw you stood up.
No, just in case.
Do we need to go talk about it, or do you want me to make a motion? You guys tell me.
We go in executive session?
You want to go? Yeah. Okay. We're going to go quick executive session. We'll be right back. I'd like to just make a brief statement before I make a motion, if that's okay. Based on the fact that we do not have any provisions for solar panels in the existing ordinance, and the fact that based on what we have in front of us right now, we would have to ask for an extremely large variance, which would set an undesired precedence at 3,327.2 feet. I would like to make a motion that we deny the request for the variance. Anybody want to second that?
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
You say no. Opposed?
Opposed?
Okay. Passes 2-1. I am going to write a letter to the Board of Supervisors asking that we try to, as quickly as possible, draft a new ordinance or draft additions to the existing ordinance that give provisions for allowing for ground-mounted solar panels. Hopefully, we can ask them to deal with it as quickly as possible, because I think at least this is again just my opinion, but this will probably be the first of many if we can figure out a way to make it work. I just feel like we don't have the right guidance in front of us right now, or the right kind of guardrails through which we can approve it without opening up ourselves to things that could come unfortunately in the future. So I think I'll ask them also to, if you have any recommendations for me, by the way, of other municipalities who have good ordinances on their books regarding ground-mounted solar panels or anything that you could provide as a matter of reference for me, that would be super helpful, and I can include those in my email to them so that they have a place to start and look at other municipalities and what they have written into their ordinances. Okay? I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. Thanks.